Then when I saw this whole Airbnb situation where you don't really need as much money, I was like intrigued.
Meet Daniel,
founder of MVP Clothing.
And MVP Living, a property management company that focuses on hassle-free solutions for landlords.
I was doing a course and I had a mentor. You basically learn how to convince landlords.
How would you convince the landlord? Because I know obviously, like say if I was to own a property, for someone to turn around and be like, I'm going to rent this off you, but I'm going to rent it.
So you kind of have to give them reassurances. So I got 8-year sentence at the age of 18. When you kind of get into that sort of life, it's very difficult to get out. Whatever you're around, you kind of become that. When you go to jail, there's two choices.
Before we start this episode, I would like to thank each and every one of you for listening to these episodes. If you could take a couple of more seconds out your time, share, like, subscribe, follow on whatever platform you're listening on. It would honestly mean so much to us and would help us grow the podcast. Now let's get straight to the episode. How are you, Daniel? Thanks so much for coming on.
That's all right. Thanks for having me.
So what do you do?
So 2 businesses. I've got the clothing brand and I've got the rent-to-rent, the property business. It's all under MVP.
It's all under the same business, is it?
So it's all under MVP. So I've got the MVP Clothing and the MVP Living.
Yeah, that's mad because when you hear people saying like for tax reasons to have like over here, when you hear about the property side of it, they say set up like different companies like...
For the property side, 100%, yeah. If it's going to be Airbnb or actually buying properties, you want different businesses to open.
For less tax and all that. But so how did you get into that? Are you in business long?
Yeah, no. So I've tried loads of businesses over the years. They've not really done really well. They've failed. And then I opened the clothing brand about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And I just did it as a hobby, to be honest. I've always been into the gym and stuff. So it started as like gym clothing. And I've still got it now. That's like doing really well. And then property was something I always wanted to get into. But as you know, because I didn't know much about property, you kind of look at it as you need to save up a deposit and get a mortgage, rent the place out, and then eventually save up again. And it's like a long process. Yeah,
you think like it's such a, like, you're never going to get to that.
Yeah, and nowadays
such a grey area.
Yeah, so it's hard to get into. Then when I saw this whole Airbnb situation where you don't really need as much money, I was like intrigued. So I kind of looked into it and then I kind of got a mentor. And then from then I just started getting Airbnbs. Yeah,
I feel like for any type of industry, like a mentor is...
Yeah, mentors are important sometimes.
Yeah, it gives you the knowledge and the information on what you need to do.
Yeah, because it's hard, isn't it?
Yeah. And were you like, was your family in business or...?
No, I'm the first one to have a business out of all my family.
Yeah, and how was your life growing up? Like were you in school or...
How was I
college?
When I started and stuff? School-wise, I was a good kid in school. Like, I was good and stuff. I didn't really get great grades, but as I left school, I went kind of down a wrong path. So I ended up around a different crowd of people, and I got in a bit of trouble and stuff.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of, obviously, I don't know if you say that in London, but young fellas, like.
So I grew up in an area. It was a small town called Bedford. It's just outside of London. But yeah, I got around the wrong crowd, and by the age of 18, I ended up in jail.
And were you in for long or?
Yeah, so I got 8-year sentence at the age of 18. You do half in England. I don't know what it's like in Ireland, but if you go to jail, you do half on good behaviour.
So you got, what did you say? You got 18 years?
8 years.
Oh, 8, sorry. Yeah. And then you ended up doing the 4.
4, yeah.
Yeah, I don't actually know what way it is over here. I think like, is it like a year is actually not even the 12 months? I think it's only like 8 months.
Oh, okay. So like
I don't know.
Actually, or something.
Yeah. I don't understand what way it really works.
So that was for selling drugs.
Yeah.
Supplying drugs. I came out, and when you kind of get into that sort of life, it's very difficult to get out. So it's like a cycle. So I came out, I was out for around 3 years, trying businesses, trying to do stuff, trying to get away from that. And I kind of fell back into it.
So probably all contacting you. And
and I ended up getting another sentence. I ended up getting 6 years, do 3. So I've done 7 years of my life in jail.
Yeah, and that's horrible. Like I couldn't imagine that, like the
Yeah.
years that you won't get back.
So just before I went to jail, I had a daughter. So I think that kind of changed me, seeing how it affected her when I went inside and stuff like that. And then
Probably parts like a year's a horse that you're never
yeah,
gonna
they're
get back.
years. So 3 years of her life, obviously I wouldn't get back. But yeah, no, I think that changed me. And then I just got to a point where I think I was 27, 28 years old. And I just thought...
When you got out, was it?
No, so I got out at 29, but
Yeah,
I was
sorry.
like 27, 28
yeah.
when I was inside. And I just thought, what am I doing? Like I've kind of spent most of my 20s inside.
Yeah.
And I've like missed out on everything. You know, my friends, I've never been on holiday with my friends and just things like that. So I just thought, what am I doing? So yeah, when I came out, I just thought, I'm going to do things totally different.
Yeah, I feel like when you're surrounded by those type of people and they're doing that, you're gonna end up going on the same path as them.
I think you become who you're around in anything you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Whether it's people that are working hard or people that just like to party all the time. Whatever you're around, you kind of become that. So I kind of had to change like the people I was around.
Yeah,
So,
and I feel like that was hard because then obviously when you come back out, you're like, who else do I know other than...
Yeah, I mean, that is all I kind of knew for years.
How did you, so obviously, say if anyone's listening, because I know there's a lot of, as I was saying earlier on, like there's so many fellas that I know, they're in just them type of cliques or groups. And how did you just come out and be like, right, okay, I need to meet new people and get in different circles?
I think everyone gets to a point where they've had enough. It depends. Some people, it's straight away, but the majority, they've wasted so many years before they actually realise, okay, they get to an age where they're 40. I was seeing people coming in at like 40, 50 years old. And I was thinking, wow, and they've constantly been in all their lives. So some people, they just never change. I think if you just have a good support unit around you, or I don't know, it's difficult. It's hard for me to sit and say how to stop. I stopped because I had a daughter, and I found God as well. So like religion's quite important in my life now. And there are things that changed me, but I don't know how I would give someone advice to... It depends. It's hard.
How did you, so when you obviously came out and were like, right, okay, I need to, like, obviously now, like you wouldn't keep in contact with the same type of people, would you? Or
No, I mean, I see them sometimes, and I have them on socials, but I'm not around them.
yeah. So obviously you're probably like who your friends now are would probably be completely different people.
Yeah,
How
they're
did you
all-
end up coming across them and meeting them, going to networking events, or was it?
Yeah, so I had two close friends that were never in trouble, and they were like my school friends. So I was always friends with them, but I was never hanging around them, and they actually really bothered with me when I was inside. So I kind of just stayed with them when I came out.
It probably made you realise.
Yeah, because they've done really well. Like one of them's my best friend. He's got his own business as well, and he's done really well. And then another one, he's doing okay. So I don't know. In my head, I always thought I'm better than this. I can do so much more. When I was in that, I'd look around and think, this isn't me. This isn't like, I'm more well-spoken. I'm quite academic. I'm just quite good at doing things. So I thought, why am I wasting, my life when I am actually better than this? I think some people, it's hard for them to get out of it because they probably think this is all they can ever do. Do you get what I mean? They don't look at the bigger picture and think, maybe I can actually do more.
Yeah, and it's probably like, I feel like when you see all the money coming in from doing that,
that's another thing.
You're like, what am I going to go to work minimum wage when I'm so used to living this type of lifestyle?
100%. That's another thing. It's the money side of things. Don't get me wrong. When I first came out, there were so many times I was like, it's so much easier to go back to that
I'll do it for
life.
another month and I'll just stop it.
And I did think like, when am I ever going to get a break? Because when I came out, I did have to start working. So like I said, my friend who was there for me, who's never been in trouble, and he had his business, he actually gave me a job doing deliveries. He had a Korean business. And that's how I started like just saving money up and doing things. And then I opened the clothing. But it's that process of struggling, getting up every morning and going to work. It's like, I was never used to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know what was your life like in prison, if you don't mind sharing?
How was it inside?
Yeah.
I was okay. Prison in England's, you're only going to have trouble in England if you're in gangs. it's more of a gang thing. I was never in gangs, so I was generally okay. If you just keep yourself to yourself, you're all right.
Yeah, you don't always hear of mad stories.
Yeah, it's more the London gangs and stuff, but in general, no, prison's okay.
Yeah, and I couldn't even imagine. Like, that's mad, yeah. And so then, obviously, you came out, you started working for that, and you started saving up your money, and then you said you opened up your clothing brand.
Yeah.
And how was that, like, straight after then you were like, right, okay, I want to go into rent to rent, or?
No,
property?
so it took me about 2 years of having my first business till I went into rent to rent, my second business. So the clothing was what I was doing first. When I was inside, actually, I was doing a lot of courses on business. I was reading a lot of books on like how to start a clothing brand. So I was inside for 3 years, but I didn't waste that time. I was doing a lot of education and knowledge. So when I came out, I already knew what my brand was, what I wanted to do, the target audience. I kind of had it all set. I just needed some capital. And
when you were in there, like, how did you do all these courses? Is there like libraries? Yes. Is there like what's? I'd be thinking you're just in a. When you watch films and stuff, it's like you just see people in a cell.
So there's a lot of opportunities to do a lot of things. A lot of people actually come out of there more qualified. You can do open universities. You can. There's courses for everything. Like you can come out a trader for anything, painter, bricklayer.
How do you? If you're obviously not putting.
How are you doing it?
Yeah, how are you doing the practical work when you're in there?
So when you go to jail, there's two choices. You either get a job in there. They don't want you staying in your cell. So you get a job or you do education. So you could get a job doing anything. You could work in the kitchens, preparing the food for all the prisoners. You could be a cleaner where you clean the wing. So you get paid per day for doing that. Or if you don't want to do that, you can do education. And there's a section where the officers take the group of you, and there's like education sections, there's classrooms, there's a big area where you do bricklaying, and that's how it works.
That's mad. So I was literally, because obviously from watching films and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's like you're just stuck in that room.
Yeah, to be honest, saying that now, like I think the prison over here as well, like there's people that I've heard of around my area that have gotten locked up and then they get out on weekends if they're on good behaviour. And
they're called open jails, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like anything you see on...
It's that's what I mean, it's
Prison Break or anything like that.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong, I think American jails are probably worse because that's where you see them on the films. But in England, it's... that's why I say it's not too bad.
Probably depends, obviously, what type of... what would you call it?
Offence.
Yeah, that you do.
It's funny, because... the prisons for the, let's say, murderers and the people doing life, they're actually probably the best prisons.
What do you mean? Like, as in, like,
they get the most privileges.
Do they? Why is that?
I think because that's their life. They're in there forever.
Right,
so they get ovens and they can cook. And they
in their own cells, like?
No, they come out. They're out all day. They have their own segregated wing amongst them, and they can cook. They get all the ingredients. They can order, like, seasoning, vegetables, meat, steak.
That's how do they pay for them? To just, to get them free, or? So
you can have a certain amount of money sent in every week by your friends and family, and then you also earn a wage through, like I said, working or going to education. Okay.
Yeah, so it's nothing like films. Or...
No, so then every week you get like a sheet, and you can order your groceries for the week that you need.
Yeah, that's mad.
Yeah.
Yeah, you learn something new every day.
Yeah.
But so what did you say then? You took 4 years?
Yeah, the first time was 4. The second time I did 3. So yeah.
No, sorry from going from your clothing company.
Sorry.
No, you're all right.
Yeah, so I've had the clothing for 4 years.
Yeah.
Then within 2 years of having the clothing company, I started the Airbnb company.
Yeah. And so what is the process? What would be the process then? Like, how did you start that?
With Airbnb?
Yeah.
So I saved up a bit of capital from the clothing. With Airbnb, you can get into it with no money, but that's really unrealistic. It's very difficult. You do need a little bit of capital. So I had a spare £6,000 and I was doing a course and I had a mentor, and you basically learn, how to convince landlords to, because a lot of landlords are not comfortable with you doing Airbnb. So you kind of have to learn how to convince them. Once you acquire the right property, then... yeah, I mean, it's just literally furnishing and deposit and you're good to go.
Yeah, so I feel like you like...
Yeah.
You say it like as if like it's this, obviously because you do it to you, it's this easy thing. But like say for example, right, say I was to start a rent or anyone listening. So how would you convince the landlord? Because I know obviously like say if I was to own a property for someone to turn around and be like, I'm going to rent this off you, but I'm going to re-rent it. I'd probably be like, what are you doing?
I mean, you're going to, because the first thing as a landlord you're going to think is, because landlords nowadays, the properties they have, they've kind of worked all their life for that property. So it's like their baby. It's like their pride and joy. And the thought of them thinking like, I don't know who's going to be in every week is a bit scary. So you kind of have to give them reassurances. So there's things you can offer a landlord that a normal tenant can't. So for example, say a normal tenant loses their job and they can't pay. It's very difficult. I don't know the rules in Ireland, but in England, it's very difficult to just get them out.
Oh, it's the same here.
Oh, is it? So they've got rights. So you can't just kick them out of their property. And it's a long process and you're going to be losing rent every week, every month, because you've got a mortgage to pay. Whereas with a limited company, if we can't pay rent, we have no rights. You can just take the property back straight away.
Right, okay.
So that's one reassurance they have.
Yeah, they probably a landlord who doesn't have a business, say for example, wouldn't probably even know that.
No, so this is where you make these aware. They won't have a clue about this. So that's one. The second thing is we give them a guaranteed rent option for 3 years. So they know, wow, I'm going to get rent guaranteed for 3 years, instead of a tenant might move out. Because if you see the turnover in tenants that rent, they generally move out after 12 months. It's a high percentage. And then there's a 2-3 month gap where they're not getting no rent. So they lose out. And it has to come out of their own pocket. Whereas where I'm offering them 3 years constant, they're thinking, well, I don't need to worry for 3 years. I've got money coming in.
And is that all like legally binded in a contract?
Yep, it's all in the contract. And also we give them it's called a break clause. So if they have, after 6 months or 12 months, they have any like worries or they change their mind, we give them the reassurance that they can cancel the contract.
Right, okay.
So there's all these little factors that we kind of put in for them to give them reassurance.
Yeah, so obviously then you'd say they were to say or like how do they know that you're say not going to get like a load of kids in that are going to have a party? How would you like? Yeah, so would you do Airbnbs or would you do like a? Initially,
it was more just focused straight on Airbnb and Booking.com. Yeah, and you're right. But that's when you learn, and like when you have a mentor and that, how to avoid getting these people, because you're right. You do. I've had it before. I've not concentrated on who was staying in my property. I wasn't taking ID and taking deposits. And there was a time when someone threw a party and they had like 30 people in my 2-bedroom flat all crammed in, and the neighbours went crazy. So I have experienced it.
And they probably didn't ring you. They probably actually rang the actual landlord, did they?
They rang the management who run the building. And then they writ to the landlord. Then he let me know, saying like, they don't even want you to do Airbnb in this place anymore. They want you out. So it took me a while to convince the management that it wouldn't happen again.
Oh, so you got back in then?
I managed to convince him this was a one-off. I'm sorry, and it won't happen again. And it hasn't happened again. But to a landlord, if he's going to say, look, I don't know who's going to be staying in my property, what you generally assure him is that your company does a process where you take everyone's ID, you take a deposit. Any damages that do occur, it's on us. We have to pay. It's not on the landlord.
Was there any damages done on that time to that property?
Not that time, but sometimes there has been damage done. Because guests are staying somewhere and they feel it's not their property, they're a little bit careless.
Yeah. Now, saying that now, if I was to rent somewhere, there's always like a deposit that they take and then you get it back when you're gone.
Yes.
So would you do something like that?
I wasn't doing that, and that's when they was a little bit careless. Since I've introduced the deposits, I've had no issues. But
yeah, because they want that money back when they're leaving.
Yeah, the reason I didn't have the deposits is because I felt if you're going to go on Airbnb and you've got to give a deposit, it kind of puts you off. I was trying to get as much bookings as I could.
Yeah, because I'd say when you're just starting off, you're like, right, I need that money.
Yeah, because I need the rent to be paid. So that's the mistakes I made. But no. I generally say to the landlord, I try not to mention Airbnb or Booking.com. I don't deny it. I say, look, if we need days filled up, we do use these platforms. But generally, we try and use corporate workers in the area. Because what we actually do is we do contact the companies that need their
like
workers to stay.
nurses and doctors and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
nurses, all the construction workers in the area. Because they're not from the area, they come from wherever they are, and they need somewhere to stay.
Yeah, and they'd be the type of people who are doing night shifts and they're just going to
They're just
bed
tired.
and-
They just
Yeah.
want to go to sleep and then go back to work.
So obviously then you're doing the Airbnb. Are you only starting the lease option, or did you say it's something that you're helping other people do?
Yeah, so I help other people as well, but I've done lease options myself. They've just come without me even trying. I've had landlords that I'm working with, and they've just said to me like, "Do you want to buy my property?" They kind of want to sell because it's very difficult for landlords now with the mortgage rates and stuff. It's just so hard to rent out, and they're really struggling. So
Is that in London? Because obviously the rent prices are really high. And
I try not to focus too much on London. I do everywhere else in the country.
well, how come? Why is that?
London has a 90-day rule for Airbnb. What that means is you can only use your property as an Airbnb for 90 days.
What? That's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's because London just has like a restriction on it.
Is that because obviously there's a big high population,
Yeah,
is it? And there's a
yeah.
housing crisis?
Yeah, probably.
That's-
So, I mean, there's ways around it. Don't get me wrong. There's loads of other people that thrive in London with Airbnb.
They're probably just re-signing the contract, is it? Or would you have to...
No, if you can have people stay longer than, so like you can only do 90 days in a year, but you can have people book for 3 months and then it's okay. You just can't stay under 90 days. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So say people are doing 1 day and 2 days, you can only do up 90 days for the year. Whereas if someone books 3 months, that's okay. They kind of don't want short stays.
Right, okay.
So they put a restriction on it. So anyone
Then
who,
what's a hotel?
yeah,
So like, why is a hotel
I
any different
know.
to an Airbnb?
I know it's crazy. I'm not too sure why, but that's the regulations in London.
Yeah. And have you done any like refurbs or anything like that yet, or any flips?
Yeah, I mean, for the one of the properties that I got on their lease option, because I've signed the contract and I knew it was mine, I kind of refurbished the whole inside. I put all the money into it because I know then it's going to be mine and the value is going to go up. But I've already agreed a value on it, so it doesn't matter
Yeah.
what I do to it. So yeah. But yeah, no, landlords have approached me and just said, "Do you want to buy the property?" And because I don't really want to invest too much capital in it, I've said I can do it, take it off your hands for 5 years, and then eventually I'll have it. And they're kind of all right
Yeah.
with the option, yeah.
I feel like people are listening to this and they're like, this is too easy to be true.
Yeah, it's not easy, don't get me wrong. A lot of landlords, I've been rejected 100 times for,
Yeah.
lease options or even Airbnbs. It's
And
crazy.
how have you been finding, like, what would you call it, leads? Like, how do you find these properties? Obviously, I know you said like landlords are coming to you now, but
Yeah.
I'd say at the start you were going off and finding all this. Like, what was your way of finding these leads? Like,
There's 2 options. You can use a deal sourcer.
what would
So
that be? So-
These are people or companies that specialize in actually getting Airbnbs. So you pay them a commission of $3,000. That's generally the price, and
is that per property survey or?
per property. So they all have a list of Airbnbs they've got ready to take on. Wherever it is, they show you the numbers, how much you can make from it each month. They break it all down. So it's kind of like a catalogue. You look at this
Right.
property and it's like, this is based in London, just use London for an example. This is how much you're getting per night. This is the rent. This is the profit you can make a month. And this is the expected occupancy. So you kind of look at it and you think, okay. And then you pay them £3,000 for that service. And then they put you onto the landlord, all ready to go.
Right, okay, so you're paying like a fee
For a
for the
middleman.
finders kind
For
of
a
fee.
middleman, yeah. They're called deal sources. There's loads
Yeah.
of them around. So that's one option.
Yeah. And is
Another-
that, you don't know any in Ireland, do you? Asking for a friend.
Probably is, yeah. There's probably loads of deal sources.
Yeah.
Because there's loads of... it's easy to find deal sources. There's loads of groups on Facebook. If you use Facebook,
Yeah.
there's deal sourcer groups. You literally go on there, you can put an area you're looking for, like Ireland, and I guarantee you deal sources will pop up.
So what, you'd actually just pop into your search deal source or Ireland?
Yeah, there's groups. Yeah, just put deal sources. There'll be hundreds of groups on Facebook that have just got like thousands of people that are looking for properties and deal sources in there that are providing them every day, posting them.
That's nice, because I've obviously, I've joined a few groups.
Yeah. What were they for? What sort of categories?
See, I got told to just to see a renting one, because I was I don't want to be saying too much of anything from but just rent ones and house for sale, just to see what type of people are in there. But I've never heard of that like that.
Yeah, I can show you some after. There's just there's loads of deal sourcing groups.
Yeah. And then obviously, would you have your own, obviously I've heard of people using for leads, a website, or using the radio, as in saying a hook kind of thing,
What, in terms of finding people directly, like landlords?
Yeah, that are looking to sell their house quick,
Yeah, for people that are trying to sell that. But are you, in terms of trying to find landlords for Airbnb?
Just in general, for any type of property,
With the Airbnb side, if you haven't got the money for a deal sourcer, you can use websites like Open Rent. This is one that connects you direct to landlords that have put their properties for rent on this website. So you can drop them an email and try and... So
just say, I don't know if Daft or just for anywhere that actually has a house up for sale, and then you'll just directly contact them.
Yeah. And then you can go for estate agents. So I've built a bit of not a reputation, a rapport with some estate agents, where I've just mentioned, this is what I do, this is my company, and if you need you need help with a turnover on properties, we can help you, and we'll give you a little commission. Because me giving them a £500 commission instead of paying a deal source of £3,000, I'm saving a lot of money. So they kind of put properties onto me and say, "Oh, this landlord's happy."
And that's all their job is just getting the commission off every sale.
Exactly. So if you give them a commission, it gives them an incentive.
Yeah.
To basically, throw properties your way.
Yeah. And for you to obviously, but then with the letting agents, when you got in contact with them, what did you just ring them up and be like, "Here, look, this is what I do," or did you actually just go in?
I go in, but you can call them up. When I first started, a lot of them didn't like the idea. But now in 2024, because there's such a high demand, they're all kind of getting on board, or they're going to miss out because the next letting agent's doing it.
Right.
So now it's more they're more receptive to the idea. So letting agents are more happy to work with you now.
And is that for just the Airbnb or other different kind of...
The Airbnb and HMOs, if you know what that is as well.
Yeah, that's mad, isn't it? It is very... They do say property is very similar here and in the UK, but it's meant to be so much easier. They say that the UK is just so much easier for even getting into property. Yeah,
especially down for that type of route. It is easy to get into. Don't get me wrong, I'm probably sitting here and I'm explaining it like it's an A to Z and you can do it like it's nothing. It is hard. You will get a lot of rejections. I mean, I'm still getting rejections now when I'm, contacting landlords and some estate agents, but it's just persistence with anything.
Yeah, if you would have just got told no and been like, right, okay, this didn't work, I'll try something else. Do you know what I mean? You wouldn't have got the first couple of properties. You're going to get told no with anything you do.
And for anyone who's trying to get into it, they might think I'm not confident with ringing up a landlord and trying to convince him. You just got to practice. I rang random areas that I didn't want to invest in, but just as practice. So I'd use a random area in England that I thought wasn't a good area, and I'd find landlords and I'd just ring them just to get the practice.
That's a good way, because if it was something that you really wanted to and you messed up, you'd be like...
You can't ring them back. Yeah, so I kind of just practiced like that, and I kind of got used to the idea of getting rejected. And then I kind of practiced where I was going wrong. After each call, I'd ask the landlord what they weren't comfortable with, and I'd note it down and I'd kind of perfect my script. So I had this perfect script in my eyes then to talk to landlords that I did want stuff for.
Yeah, that's actually a really good idea. I never thought of that.
Yeah. So that's an idea that always worked as well.
Because that's what kind of turns you off ringing.
Yeah.
And doing stuff like that, because you're like, oh, what if I mess up?
Yeah.
Where you could practice it with somebody else.
Because I was terrible. I couldn't even answer questions because they'd throw questions at you. And you just the ones you said about how do I not know they're not going to trash the place? And I'd be like, I don't know. I just, I'd kind of, but sometimes you can just hang up because it's practice calls. I'd just hang up on them. If it was
if you froze, you'd be like, fuck.
I'll just hang up because I know it's not going anywhere. But then you just get better and better.
Yeah, that's actually a very good idea. Noted.
Yeah.
But so how many properties would you say you have now?
Airbnb side, I've got 10 now.
Yeah, and that's over a good amount of years, is it?
So that's over 12 months of doing the Airbnb side of things. Yeah.
And then obviously you mentioned HMOs then. Have you got many of them as well?
No, I work with people that do HMOs.
Right, okay. So are you like, would you mentor people now yourself?
Yeah, there's a few people that I help out getting into it and finding their first properties and stuff. But just like I had a mentor. See, the difference with me and someone else is most mentors that you contact, they're trying to sell you a course.
Yeah.
I don't try and sell you a course. I don't have a ready-made course. I'm one that I work from the beginning to the end with you. So you kind of just, whatever you're stuck with, you contact me, like you message me or call me and we go over it instead of just having a course. Do you know what I mean? And you've just paid a fee for a course.
Yeah, because everyone's at different
Everyone's
stages.
at different stages and people struggle with different things. Because a course could tell you how to contact the landlord, but then someone could ring me up and say, look, the landlord didn't like this, and I could kind of go over it with them. Whereas, with a course, it's just written, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I feel it's better that way.
Yeah. And would you say you're mentoring like a few people now, or?
Yeah, there's a few people that I work with, and obviously I started this with one of my friends. He has his own separate business and we kind of help each other out as well. There's things he helps me with, there's things I help him with. So yeah, it's just, as you go along. You
so you're surrounded with completely different people now.
And then now and obviously when you do it, you network. So there's a lot of people that can help me out with certain things, or if I need a cleaner for a certain area, I know who to contact, or I've got contacts for handymen now if anything goes wrong. There's just, you kind of just meet people and then you kind of help each other out.
You're probably in like group chats where you can just probably like, I feel like once you're kind of, you get into, I feel like I'll go to a few networking events and I think I'm in like 6 different group chats.
Yes. So,
which is good. Like if you just wanted a bit, like as you said, like a handyman or and like that, you could just throw it in there and you'll get about 5 different numbers. Yeah,
I've got a big group chat with loads of cleaners, loads of them. So if a cleaner can't make it, I can just literally message in that group and someone else can go. If I need a cleaner for a certain area in England, they can recommend others, and it's really easy now.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's groups on Facebook if you need cleaners. You can just join this group, and there's thousands. So if you start somewhere in an area and you need someone that specialises in Airbnb, this group will find it for you.
Yeah, there's a group for everything.
Yes, there is.
Literally. And do you feel like, so you said you're over in Ireland now, you're looking to branch out? And
yeah, no, I'm definitely, while I'm here, I'm definitely having a look and seeing like the prices and the competition. I use a software that's called AirDNA, so I kind of look at how busy certain areas are. It kind of cheats. It gives you occupancy of stuff. And
so what do you mean, like as in it cheats? And
if you can go on Airbnb and have a look and see how many properties are in the area, but AirDNA breaks down like how filled up these properties are. So like
how busy, like that.
The occupancy, yeah. So if some places are like 80%, 90%. So I can see how good it actually is
okay.
to rent out here.
Right.
It's called AirDNA. So yeah, I've had a little look, and Dublin looks really good.
Yeah, so like probably you're probably looking.
And I've looked I need to look a bit more at the rent prices, but the rent prices seem okay.
Yeah, it's probably like 2.5 for a 1-bedroom apartment.
Yeah,
$2,000.
In the prices they're charging per night, it is
for an Airbnb server. I keep thinking of like a month thing.
No, but obviously, you need to bear that in mind, because if you're taking it on, you've got to pay monthly.
Yeah,
the prices are quite high, but they're okay for how much you can charge. Do you get what I mean in terms of how much you can make?
Right, yeah, per night and stuff. Yeah.
So it's not too bad, and I'm assuming it's for tourism, and that Dublin's very popular. I mean, people are always coming here for hen do's, stag do's. I've seen so many, like in the airport and stuff.
Don't know why they come.
It's the drinking here, I think.
Yeah, because you're like, every time you see any tourists in Dublin, and you're like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
Everyone wants to go to Temple Bar. That's about it.
Yeah. I've been already recommended to go there.
Yeah, there's a place, there's a pub there. I'll tell you after, I'm not going to say it here. but it's just way too overpriced and it's so hyped up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not even that big of a deal.
Yeah.
There's actually better places to go.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Tell me after.
Yeah.
Because I'm gonna go for food after. There's a
Right, okay.
nice restaurant I've been recommended here. So
And did you come over with your friend? Did you say you
I came with my partner. Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
So
Yeah.
we're here at the moment.
Yeah, that's good. They obviously, and what way will you get, like, obviously, so you're doing your research over here now. So what will you just like basically ring landlords here then and just hope for?
Yeah, I mean, it's not something I'm going to do right now in terms of
just
branch
kinda,
out here, but I like the idea of, I want to expand. So there's a few places that I am looking to eventually expand outside of England. So Ireland would be one. Dubai is another one.
Yeah,
and Spain.
I've heard that's
Dubai's probably the best place to do it.
Yeah, it's that their properties are so cheap, but then the rent is so high.
Yes, and with Dubai, you don't really have restrictions. So landlords are not bothered as long as they get their money, because most of the landlords who own properties in Dubai haven't even seen their properties. They're just millionaires who have bought so many apartments in a block, and they just want their money. There's no restrictions on your credit history or how long you've been trading, because you get all this in England. You get these barriers. In Dubai,
like to basically get like a mortgage and stuff on housing and properties.
Not even just for renting as well. In England, you need to either be earning a certain amount of money. You have to prove how much you're earning. You have to get guarantors if you can't earn that. Like if you hit the threshold. If your company's not been established long enough. Like there's so many barriers in England, whereas in Dubai, there's none of that. If you want to take somewhere on, you got the deposit, they don't really care. Because I know people who do it in Dubai now, so they've kind of explained it.
Right, okay. So you'd basically just go over there, have the deposit and start an Airbnb business straight away? Like
it's very simple, yeah. You can just, once you start a company over there, the rest of it's simple. There's
no taxes either then?
There's no tax. I think it's gone up to, I heard it's gone up to 5%. I'm not sure. But generally, compared to England, it's nothing.
Yeah, I was about to say, what a shame.
Yeah. But no, for tax reasons, yeah, it's even better over there. So
that's crazy, isn't it? That it's so, I have a friend that's over there now. She's looking to, she's working in real estate now for next year to just rub probably a few shoulders.
Yes, even just buying as well, properties out there, like there's so much potential and so many people are going out there for real estate. Because Dubai is just constantly building.
Yeah, I was only talking to someone there the other day and she was like to me, I might buy a house in Dubai. It's like 300 grand and it's like a big, huge villa with your own pool like that. You wouldn't get anything like that over here.
You'd get a 1-bedroom flat in London for that, not even.
Yeah, like it's like crazy.
Yeah.
And then the rent is still, if you were to rent that out, then it's still high enough, isn't it? What's the rent over there like?
Yeah, it depends. I mean, you can rent a beautiful 2-bedroom flat in Dubai for half the price of what London would be. And
all right, so it wouldn't actually, the rent is actually not that bad then?
No, the rent's not too bad, no.
See, anytime I went over, I've kind of just looked at like hotels and...
Yeah, I mean, depending on which hotels, the hotels are quite expensive, some, but no, Dubai's pretty reasonable in terms of the real estate situation.
Yeah, that's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, but in time, over years, it will all go up.
Yeah, because I feel like more and more people...
Yeah, the prices will go up. Now is like the best time, so...
Yeah. And when are you planning on...
Next year.
You'll be probably going over there and trying to branch out over there.
Yes, so I'm going to go over there. I'm going to go there in January, and then that's when I'm going to start like looking at the whole process.
Out and stuff like that. Yeah. You said you have a few friends living over there.
I've got a few friends that do it over there. Yeah, and they go between England and Dubai. They keep coming back and forwards.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I'm like,
I mean, it's nice. I'd love to live out there.
Yeah, it's the weather.
Yeah,
it's unreal.
It's just lovely country.
Half the time you're looking at the buildings and you're like, is that drawn? Do I need to rub my eyes again?
It's a beautiful country.
You won't find any bit of rubbish on the ground.
No, it's clean. There's no trouble. It's very strict. I mean, you're safe out there. I mean, London now, compared to London's not safe at all.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even live in London. I live just outside in Milton Keynes. I wouldn't live in London. London's just dangerous.
Would you have been growing up from like a rough area in London or?
No, so I grew up in Bedford. It wasn't rough. It was just, I mean, everywhere has their little areas, but compared to London, London's terrible now. You can't even wear a watch in London.
Really? Yeah, is it that bad?
Yeah, I mean, some of the nicest restaurants you can go to, there's some of the security on the door will let people know that you've come in with a nice watch. When you leave the restaurant, you'll get robbed. It's really bad, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
There's people that are driving around on mopeds, and if they kind of spot you at the petrol station with a nice watch or driving and you're stuck in traffic, they'll just rip it out your hand.
And is that like, say, like, I was about to say young fellas now, but then I half the time like, do you say that over there?
Yeah, the
like,
youth, yeah.
Yeah, was that the them kind of basically?
It's the youth,
like,
yeah.
That's
it's really
mad,
bad.
isn't it?
Yeah, and it's like, you got to be careful with your phone as well. So they'll wait for anyone who's like got their phone out or their text in, and they'll just snatch it. It's gone. You've got to be really careful. London's bad.
I didn't think it was like, that's what my friend lives in Manchester and then our brother lives in London.
Manchester's lovely.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be the nicest city in England.
Do you think? Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much going on there with developments and what they're putting into Manchester. I'd live in Manchester, 100%.
Yeah, I think she said the same thing. Like, she said she wouldn't live in London, but she never said anything like that.
Yeah,
it was that rough.
London's bad. You can't.
Is that the whole of London, would you say?
Yeah, and do you know what? The more richer parts you get, the more dangerous it is, because that's where people are targeting you. So you've just got to be careful. I had a nice watch, and I just would never wear it in London. I'd take it on holiday with me, but I would never wear like a 10, 20 gram watch in London. No way.
Yeah.
Because you just no. It's a no-go.
That's mad. Why do you think it's so like I don't know, like the guards are...
The police are just, they're restricted. There's not much police. They're underfunded. And then the youths they're just out of control. London's bad. I mean, the rates in London are like probably the highest in Europe, I think.
What?
Yeah.
You do always see, do you ever see this fella and he has a podcast? James English?
Yes. Yeah.
And he always has like...
ex-crooks and gangsters, and I've seen it.
Yeah, and I've overheard a few of them, and
they're like the people he has are more the old school. Have you noticed? They're like all older generation.
Yeah.
Back then it was much different. There was none of this. Everyone kind of had respect for the members of the public. It would be just anyone who had issues would be in that underground world. It was
so between
more,
kind of gangs and stuff like that.
or business going on in the underground world. So it was kind of, you had morals, but now the youth of today, they don't care. They don't care who you are. If you're an innocent civilian, like just the other day, I think it was 2 days ago, like a woman and her daughter just got stabbed to death. It was just on the news. Like, it's just so dangerous.
Well, and what were they just like walking down the road like?
I'm not sure what it was over, but just the fact a woman and a child, that's how bad London is. It's so bad.
That's mad, yeah. It's actually scaring me now. Yeah. I think I was only over for Burna Boy for a concert.
Oh, Burna Boy. Yeah.
I was only over there.
Did you have a good experience? It was okay?
Yeah, I thought it was good.
I mean, generally...
See, you live over there, you know everything.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Where, like, as a tourist, when you go over, you don't hear about these things.
You'll be okay, but in general, London is a dangerous place.
Yeah. So, and would you go into like doing the HMOs or anything, like any of the refurbs anytime soon? Or are you going to just stick with the Airbnbs?
Yeah, HMOs are good. For me, I just find, it's more profitable to do Airbnb. I've got people that just stick to HMOs. That is an option, but for me, with HMOs, there's certain licensing you need. You can't just get a house in an area and turn it into an HMO. There has to be certain like planning permission and licenses. So for me, that's a route I wouldn't really go down.
Yeah, and so it's the plan then for you to own the property and then do it as an Airbnb, or? So
three of my Airbnbs are currently on lease option, so I will be owning them. Yeah. And then once I own them, they will be, the mortgage will be so much cheaper. I'll make so much more money. But yeah, my aim is to own properties and then put them through Airbnb.
Yeah, because there's more, because you could charge way more for just one night stay. Do you ever get that you can't get anyone for a while in a property and it's just kind of you're paying them? Do
you know what? I've never had that, I have had people that have come to me or message me and say like they're struggling to fill their property up. So I kind of look at like where they're going wrong. There's loads of factors of why.
What could be the...
So the area, that's the most important. You can't just get a property anywhere. It has to be close to something important. So close to hospitals.
I was just you would say that, yeah. For
Close to the
nurses
city centre, close to universities, because then you attract those type of clients. So people who need to have accommodation to go uni, or city centre if someone's in a city and they want to stay and they've got family. Hospitals, NHS workers, or people that are visiting family that are unwell. So these are things that area is very important. Another one is the interior, how you make it look. You know, it's got to be appealing to what you're trying to do.
Yeah, because I feel like when you're going to stay, if it's an Airbnb, it's like a little trip away, even if if you're from the country or if you're going away, you want to stay somewhere nice.
That's it. And the thing is, like, look at it as yourself when you're going to stay somewhere. Like maybe if you was going to get an Airbnb in London and you've got so many Airbnbs and like to look through, you're kind of scrolling and you want it to catch your eye. You want to be like, oh, that one's nice. And then you kind of click on it and you're like, oh, that's a nice room. That's a nice bathroom. Then you're kind of happy with staying there. But if it's just basic, because if you were to go on Airbnb now and you look at like 90% of them, they're so basic. And I think, how do you put that on Airbnb?
Yeah, some of them just like, if I'm going away or going somewhere, I don't want to feel like I'm staying in, say, someone else's house.
Exactly.
You want to feel like it's still like a type
you,
of a hotel.
Like you don't want to feel like someone's just left you their house to stay for the weekend.
Yeah, like bed sheets, like with you want. Yeah.
So you want it to be like it's well presented, it's ready for you, and it's like a hotel type of feeling. Yeah. And that's where a lot of like people go wrong as well. And then pictures is very important. How you take your pictures.
Yeah. So what's the?
I kind of compare it to like, say like you're on a dating app.
Right.
And you're scrolling through and then like you want the first picture to catch your eye.
Yeah.
And that's very important. So you want like, you don't want like a close-up picture of like a bit of furniture. You kind of want to capture the whole room, capture a nice big angle, colourful. Colourful is important. It has to be colourful. If it's just a room and it's like black and white.
People just say the kitchen.
If you've got a beautiful kitchen, put that in. Yeah, kitchens are important. I say more for females, it's the bathrooms as well.
Yeah, the lighting and all. Yeah,
like if it's a nice bathroom, I think that attracts like more the female customers. So yeah, it's all about the first picture.
So see, for the mentoring then, if someone was to get in contact with you then, is that like, would you work with them for a few months or just like maybe a call kind of thing?
Yeah,
or?
so I kind of ask them what they need and then I kind of base it on that. So someone might need a whole journey of like from the beginning of setting up the company to getting an accountant, then to getting the right insurances, like literally from the beginning to then start looking for the Airbnbs. Like some people want it all from start to finish till they're established. So I kind of work out how much I can charge them to benefit them so it's sustainable, and then they've got me 24 hours like every day if they need to get in contact. Some people just need an hour phone call just to address an issue. There might be something like what sort of example regarding tax or something. They've hit a certain amount of tax that they have to pay now and they like need advice on like what sort of VAT rate to go down, just things like this. Just there could be anything. Or like you said, they're struggling with occupancy. So they need to sit down and have a chat of like ideas of how to get their place filled up. And I'll have a look and be on the phone with them and just kind of explain to you like what I've explained to them.
What if you got somebody who is doing the Airbnb, they can't fill it up because they obviously got the house in a bad area and they're after signing one of them contracts where it's guaranteed rent for the next.
Yeah.
So what do you do there then?
That's why hopefully whoever they've learnt from, they've always put a break clause, like the break clause I mentioned, where either side of the party after 6 months to 12 months,
size,
if they're like not happy, they can cancel it. I've not had someone come to me where they're stuck in a long contract and there's no break clause and they don't know what to do. If someone was to come to me with that, I'd have to do what I can to try and make the situation the best
down.
it could, where I'd have to say, right, you're going to have to change this, that and that. But that's the first steps I'd say anyway to anyone is don't just jump out of it. Like, let's see what we can do. Because there's always something they're not doing right anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So if anyone is looking out to reach out, where can they find you?
So my Instagram is mvpclub.living. So it's the mvpclub.living. You can find me on there, or you can go to my website. It's mvpliving.net.
Yeah, and your clothing brand and
and the clothing brand. So the mvpclub.clothing is the Instagram for the clothing, and my website, mvpclub.net is the website for the clothing.
And what type of clothing is it?
It's a mixture. So there's sportswear and there's streetwear. So you can go from your gym stuff to your like oversized, like everyday t-shirts and stuff like that.
Unreal. Thanks so much for coming on, Daniel.
No, I appreciate
coming
you
all the way
having me.
over from London.
No, I appreciate it. And thanks for having me.